Chapter 511. Olivia was looking forward to the prenatal checkup tomorrow. She was anxious and concerned about this pregnancy. She could finally see how her babies were doing in her womb, so how could she not be excited? She walked to Jeff's room like she always did. He had been in a coma for 3 months. It didn't look like he was going to regain consciousness. It was like he was compromising. His body stayed to accompany her, but his spirit had wandered elsewhere. Olivia could still feel the bond between them as long as he was still alive. And she wouldn't be an orphan. She cleaned Jeff's body and read a book out loud. Then, she began to talk to Jeff. "Dad, I'll know the baby's gender tomorrow. Please wake up. I want you to witness every moment of happiness with me. The babies will be born in a few months. I've kept the toys you made with care. I'm sure the kids will love them when I give them the toys." She said many things and looked at the machine on the side. All the numbers were steady. It didn't seem like Jeff was going to wake up. Olivia sighed. She looked at Jeff, who was getting weaker by the day. She said guiltily, "Dad, am I being too selfish for holding on to you? I'm sorry. There's nothing else I can hold on to. I just want to hold on to the family I have left. Dad, please wake up and look at me and the babies. Please." As expected, there was no response. Olivia sighed and said, "Dad, rest well. I'll come again tomorrow." Olivia left the room with a heavy heart. This coma was different from the last. The last time he was in a coma, there was a high chance for him to regain consciousness after an operation. This time, the doctors had basically resigned Jeff to his fate after this period of observation. There was a 99% chance he wasn't waking up. The 1% was if a miracle happened. The doctors suggested that they should let Jeff pass peacefully. Keeping him alive would just be torturous for him. The rounds of resuscitation had taken a toll on his body. He was only hanging on to life with the help of medication and medical equipment. Every day, Olivia would hope for a miracle that she would open her eyes and see Jeff awake. The next day, Olivia started the routine prenatal checkup early in the morning. She lay on the bed and was visibly nervous. Dr. Wells comforted her. "Relax, Mrs. Miller. There's no need to be nervous. You'll be able to see the babies soon." There was a high-resolution display in front of her. When the probe moved around her stomach, the screen would show what was happening in her womb. There were 2 colors, black and yellow. The yellow parts were her babies. The nearly 5-month-old babies had already developed facial features. The 2 children were very playful as the probe continued to follow them around. They kept trying to use their hands to cover their faces. Dr. Wells smiled and said, "Look, the babies are very lively. Those are the legs, and these are the hands. This baby's face is covered up. Let's look at the other one." The probe moved to the side, and Olivia saw a smiling face. This baby was very docile. It didn't cover its face, which was fully visible. Even the most advanced equipment couldn't get the image clearly. Only the outlines could be seen. It was like the baby sensed something as it kept smiling. The outline displayed on the monitor showed the edges of its lips curled into a smile. "The baby looks healthy. This one looks a little like Mr. Miller." Olivia wiped her tears away. She was very emotional. Her impression of a baby stopped at the tiny little body covered with a white cloth. She was beyond happy now that she was seeing the living babies in her womb. Let's look at the other rascal. Chapter 512. It took some effort before they could see the face of the other baby. This baby had softer features. "Mrs. Miller, this baby looks like you. That's wonderful. You have a baby boy and a baby girl." Olivia wiped her tears and said, "I don't care about their gender, as long as they're healthy. Don't worry, the babies are developing normally. There are no issues. The babies have differing personalities. One is active and the other is more reserved. I'll send the video to your phone later, so you can look at it whenever you want." Olivia nodded and said, "Thanks, Dr. Wells. Don't mention it. I'm just doing my job. You don't have to worry, Mrs. Miller. You'll be able to meet your babies soon." Yeah, after going through all the checkups, Olivia was finally able to relax. She even showed Mona the video that Dr. Wells sent her. Mona loved the video a lot. "These little angels are so adorable. I can't wait until they're born." Olivia ran her hand over her stomach. I'm also looking forward to their arrival. I have to tell my father about this. Mona murmured, all right, I guess I have to prepare some gifts for the baby. Olivia's footsteps were light and joyful. She went to Jeff's room, saying, Dad, I have some good news. The babies are healthy. It's a boy and a girl. The baby girl is very playful, and the baby boy is reserved. The boy looks like Ethan, but his personality is different. He loves to smile. I think his smile is cute. Do you want to see them? You have to wake up soon. The kids would want to see their grandpa. Jeff's finger moved. It was as if he was trying to respond to Olivia. Olivia saw that and quickly held his hand. Dad, I'll wait for you. You have to wake up as soon as possible. We need to stick together. I and the kids need you. At night, Ethan also received the video of the babies. He was thrilled even if he could only see the outline of their faces. Ethan enlarged the video and ran his finger over the screen repeatedly. He was looking forward to meeting the babies in a few more months. Someone knocked on the door. Ethan said coldly, come in. Brent was back with the latest news. He noticed the fleeting smile on Ethan's face. Was it good news from Mrs. Miller? Brent knew that only Olivia would be able to bring a smile to Ethan's lips. Yeah, I saw the kids. It's a girl and a boy. You're so lucky, Mr. Miller. I bet these two babies will be able to help Mrs. Miller get over her trauma. How is the investigation going? Ethan quickly got back to business. There's good news and bad news. Helen didn't take the death of Mr. and Mrs. Carlton very well. She vanished on the same night. She hasn't resurfaced in almost 6 months. I think she has left Aldenvine. The toxic hive bases in Aldenvine have also been moved. Miss Miller, left with the others. The Black Ravens have yet to be seen. I'm not sure if the mission has been cancelled or if they're just hiding. All leads had gone cold. Following the departure of Toxic Hive, a lot of the events from the past became shrouded in mystery, and the truth was also concealed. The good news is that our research team has already finished the tests for the M1 drug you brought back. We're able to formulate it ourselves now. Ethan frowned. I remember the documents saying that this drug has side effects. Yes, we're unable to overcome this flaw yet. Toxic Hive hasn't been able to do it either. Also, it's a fact that no drug is perfect. Even cold medicine and antibiotics come with some side effects. Brent looked at Ethan's dissatisfied look and asked tentatively, are you planning to use the drug, Mr. Miller? I was, but she left. Are you talking about Miss Miller? Mr. Miller, I think other than being related to you, her actions were. Brent paused, but Ethan finished his sentence, horrendous, right? Her actions are definitely reproachable. If she ever gets arrested, not even you can protect her, Mr. Miller. She's no longer just a civilian. Rather than keeping her close and have her be a nuisance between you and Mrs. Miller, you should just forget about her and let her go her own way. I'll think about it. Let me know if there's any news about her. Also, you need to look into Liv's origins. Understood. But it's ancient history, after all. All the leads have gone cold. Investigating her origins will be hard. I might need more time. Ethan lowered his head and looked at the video of the babies. Smiling, he said, don't be afraid, Liv. We'll be able to see the babies in a few months. Chapter 513. In the morning, Olivia woke up from a nightmare. She could still remember the details vividly. Her back was covered in sweat. Recently, she felt peaceful and hadn't had such a horrifying nightmare. She got out of bed and headed to the bathroom to shower. The babies in her stomach began to move around as water from the showerhead touched her swollen belly. The babies seemed to love showering. They would be especially active whenever Olivia showered. The water was warm, gently falling onto Olivia's stomach. Most pregnant women's skin would become rougher, and their facial hair would increase. But Olivia's skin remained smooth and flawless, which meant she was charming even when pregnant. Olivia caressed her stomach to calm her children. Their existence brought hope into her life. She came out of the bathroom and was still slightly spooked. The room was utterly silent. She turned on her phone. Olivia had cut off her connection to the outside world for months. She had yet to catch up on the latest news. Strangely, there was no longer any information about Ethan and Marina. It was like it had been intentionally blocked. She hadn't seen Ethan in 3 months. She figured he was probably busy trying to be a good husband to Marina. Everly would always post some depressing text on Instagram at night. But she would still be busy as a bee at work the next day. Olivia thought she was doing pretty well. Her employer was very strict, but the pay was good. She also saw updates from other people she knew. There wasn't much change. Olivia noticed a link that someone had shared. It was a collector's auction. Olivia wasn't interested in such events but tapped into the link to see if there were any items from the Fordham residence. She managed to find the emerald pendants that Jeff was hung up on. They were the Fordham family's heirlooms. Olivia thought Jeff might regain consciousness if he held the emerald pendants in his hands since he sometimes moved his fingers when she talked. Olivia looked at when the auction would begin and asked one of her attendants to get an invitation for her. It was an anonymous auction. She figured she wouldn't attract any attention if she were careful not to show herself in public. Ethan heard about this, but he didn't try to stop Olivia. He had sent a lot of men to investigate in secret. Toxic Hive had left the city, and even the Black Ravens, which posed a threat to Olivia, were gone. Olivia wouldn't be in danger if she kept a low profile. But Ethan wanted to prevent accidents from happening, so he still arranged some capable bodyguards for her. He just wanted to ensure Olivia's safety on this trip. In order to cater to Olivia's emotional needs during the pregnancy, Ethan would do his best to fulfill her needs. Mona jumped for joy when she heard that they could finally go out. We're finally allowed to go out. It's been a long time coming. Olivia smiled and said, look at the date. It's the 30th of August. What about it? Mona asked while blinking. Olivia flicked her forehead and said, isn't it the day your upperclassman is coming back? You should meet him at the airport. You don't have to worry about me while I'm at the auction. There will be a lot of bodyguards keeping me safe. Olivia, I told you that you don't have to do this. I still have plenty of chances. Olivia placed a finger on Mona's lip and said, don't say that ever again. You might have plenty of chances in the future, but you never know what the future holds. Cherish the present. Do the things you want to do while you're still young so that you won't leave any regrets. Mona understood what Olivia meant. All right. Mona quickly picked out a new change of clothes. Do I look good in this? Olivia sighed inwardly when she looked at Mona, who was spinning in circles. She admired Mona's youthfulness. Olivia was a few years younger than Mona, but she had already lost the glimmer of joy in her eyes. She was all beaten and bruised. You look beautiful. He'll definitely be charmed by you, Olivia said sincerely. Chapter 514. Mona had been in high spirits for the past couple of days. She even started using facial masks, something which she had never done before. It was evident that the upperclassman was very important to her. She was looking forward to the meeting more than anything. When the day arrived, her face lit up with joy, but she was also nervous. Does this dress look ugly on me, Olivia? He's returning from abroad. Will he think I'm too unfashionable? Olivia wanted to give Mona some of her clothes, but they were too expensive. She wanted Mona to show her most authentic self to her upperclassman since she might want to date him. Olivia figured it was best not to complicate things with overly expensive clothes. Of course, he won't. If he likes you too, he'll think you're beautiful even if you're wearing rags. Don't worry, just go see him at the airport, no pressure. Mona looked at Olivia, who sat beside her. Olivia was wearing a simple white dress. Her hair was in a ponytail, and she wore no jewelry or makeup. But she looked like an elegant swan. Okay, I'll need to learn from your example. I'll be calm. It's just a man. Mona muttered to herself, but she suddenly became nervous again. But it's Warren Tovar, the man I've secretly admired for so long. I can still remember the first time we met. Mona cupped her cheeks with her hands as she began to fantasize about Warren. Olivia sighed and said, you're hopeless. The whole time they were in the car, Mona talked about how great Warren was and how cool he was. Olivia felt like she had enough inspiration for an entire campus romance novel. Mona only stopped talking about Warren after they arrived at the basement parking lot of the antique house. She asked, are you sure you don't need me with you? I'm sure. Just have fun on the date with your upperclassmen. Seize the chance. You can do it. Olivia exited the car, gestured for Mona to try her best, and went on the elevator with her bodyguards. She stood in a corner of the elevator, and the 4 bodyguards stood before her. They surrounded her so tightly that no one could even see her. No one would know who she was. Olivia's seat was in a private room, where no one could see. She only needed to wait for the pendants to be auctioned. As soon as she sat down, the leader of the bodyguards, Cyril Pullman, knocked on the door and entered. He took away the snacks prepared in the room and replaced them with those they brought from home. "Mrs. Miller, eat these if you want." Olivia nodded at him. She had seen Cyril around for half a year. He was like a shadow. He rarely showed himself, was silent, and paid attention to details. "Thanks. You're too kind, Mrs. Miller. I'll be outside the door. Call me if you need me." Cyril was tall and muscular but closed the door lightly on the way out. He didn't make any unnecessary noises. Olivia glanced at the people in the hall below with a bored expression while sipping on warm water. It was very lively today. There were all sorts of people in the building. Other than antiques, there were also some illegal items up for auction. These items weren't announced ahead of time, so they attracted a lot of collectors. Before the auction started, Olivia heard arguments from outside the door. "My employer wants this room. Name a price. How much to let us have this room?" Cyril said in a deep voice. "Sorry, we won't do it." "You won't? Why am I talking to a lapdog like you? Ask whoever is inside to come out here. Do you know who my employer is?" I said, "We won't do it. It won't change no matter who your employer is." After Cyril said that, the sound of a slap could be heard. Then, a woman said, "How about now? Scum. You guys, knock down that door. Don't waste any more time with these losers." Chapter 515. The door was opened before the men could kick it open. Olivia stood at the door. She saw that half of Cyril's face was red and swollen, and another bodyguard was rushing forward. Ethan's men were like him. They were cold, silent, and kept a low profile. They would never start anything, nor would they bully anyone. Their duty was to protect Olivia. So, they tried to be more tolerant because they didn't want to attract attention. Still, the other party didn't want to de-escalate. They actually slapped Cyril. Olivia saw an unfamiliar face. She didn't sound like she was a local. There were luxurious items hung all over her body. She looked like a walking product gallery. Before Olivia could speak, the woman sized her up, and her gaze focused on Olivia's stomach. "And here I thought some big shot was in there. So, it's just a pregnant lady." The woman grabbed a stack of cash from her expensive handbag and offered it to Olivia. "I want this room. Clear out and let me have it." There was around $30,000 or $40,000 in the stack. Olivia didn't look at the money. She said in a low tone, "Apologize to him." The woman laughed and asked, "Are my ears playing tricks on me? You want me to apologize to your lapdog? Do you know who I am?" The sound of a slap could be heard. It was a very solid hit. The woman was shocked as she looked at Olivia in disbelief. She didn't expect a seemingly harmless pregnant lady to hit her so abruptly. "I'm not interested in knowing who you are. But since you're unwilling to apologize, I have to teach you a lesson." Olivia knew that Cyril wouldn't lay a hand on a woman, so she did it for him. "How dare you hit me? You prego bitch. Even my parents never hit me. I'll kill you." The woman rushed at Olivia with her arms flailing. Cyril immediately stepped in. The woman turned back to look at her bodyguards. "Are all of you playing dead? Beat her up. My cousin will handle it even if she miscarries." Olivia frowned as she wondered who the woman was. She was being too audacious in Aldenvine. She also wondered about the identity of the woman's cousin. The woman's cousin didn't show up, but Olivia's reinforcements did. Bodyguards in black suits came running from the stairs and the elevator. They stood in a line before Olivia. The scene looked like it was straight out of a movie. The onlookers were shocked by it. Cyril bowed slightly before Olivia and said, "Sorry to have frightened you, Mrs. Miller. Leave the rest to us." "Okay." Olivia wasn't worried. She knew that Ethan would be able to handle things in Aldenvine. Just as she was about to close the door, she heard the woman yelling into her phone, "A pregnant lady at the antique house is bullying me. Come help me." Olivia froze. She wanted to see who this arrogant woman's cousin was. The woman's cousin said something to her over the phone, and she looked overjoyed. "You're coming. Okay, I'll wait for you here." The woman became smugger after she hung up the phone. She put a hand on the door so that Olivia couldn't shut it. Then, she said arrogantly, "My cousin is almost here. You'll be dead when he gets here." The crowd of onlookers grew in size. Some of them recognized the woman. "I know who she is. She's the princess of the Olsen family in Ordchester. Her name is Lydia Olsen. She's used to having her way in Ordchester. Does she think she's in Ordchester now? I know, right? How dare she be so high and mighty in another city? That other woman is Mr. Miller's darling too." Olivia's identity had become public knowledge at Marina's wedding. All sorts of stories about Ethan's relationship with Marina and Olivia began to spread around that time too. Ethan had to exercise his authority to ban all nonsense from the internet. The general public might not recognize Olivia, but the people who were at the auction were also at Marina's wedding. They couldn't possibly forget Olivia. Olivia didn't expect to go unnoticed during her few years as Mrs. Miller and gain recognition after she became ex-Mrs. Miller. The commotion was getting loud. The person in the room next to Olivia's was roused by the noise and came out to see what was happening. He stuck half his body out of the room and coughed with his hand covering his mouth. Olivia turned around to see a familiar face. It was Avery. Chapter 516. Olivia met with Avery's gaze. She felt a surge of emotions, which boiled down to guilt. She had promised to donate her kidney. Avery was already on the operating table, anesthetized. But she was taken away by Ethan at the last second. She didn't even get to apologize to him. Her number was then changed after returning to Aldenvine. She was unable to contact Avery, so she still owed him an apology. She didn't expect to see him here. She thought he had returned to his country and wondered why he was back in Aldenvine. Olivia felt remorse, but Avery didn't have much of a reaction after he saw her. He nodded at her with a smile and greeted her. Lydia was still causing a scene, but she noticed that Olivia wasn't even looking at her but at a man. She became even angrier. "Who are you looking at, you pregnant bitch? You can't even keep it in your pants when you're pregnant. Who are you flirting with?" "Miss, you should watch your mouth," Cyril reminded her expressionlessly. "Watch my mouth? You should ask her to watch herself. Who knows whose baby she's carrying? But she's flirting with a man in public. She's probably the mistress of some old man, right?" Lydia didn't notice that the crowd was looking at her like she was an idiot. Then, a voice came from the crowd. "Have you said enough?" Ethan had arrived, followed by Kelvin and Brent. Their presence shocked the crowd. They fell silent as they made way for Ethan and company. Ethan's gaze fell on Olivia. Even though his people would send him photos of her every day, it had been 3 months since he saw her in person. Her temperament was gentler after she became a mother. Ethan intentionally hid from Olivia during her first pregnancy, so he never noticed her change then. Now that he saw her with a swollen belly and her hair up, emotions surged within him. The girl who was full of smiles had become a woman. Olivia didn't speak, but Lydia approached Ethan with a smile. "You're finally here, Ethan. It's that pregnant woman. She's the one who bullied me because she has more people on her side. You have to teach her a lesson for me." Everyone was shocked, even Olivia. No one knew he had a cousin like Lydia. Olivia had heard that Ethan's mother was mentally ill and had been staying overseas. She didn't even get to meet Ethan's mother when she got married to him. Olivia also heard that Ethan had some uncles and aunts, but most of them were overseas as well. Only one of his aunts was in Ordchester. Olivia didn't ask, and Ethan didn't explain. Olivia just realized that Ethan's aunt married into the Olsen family. It was an exciting turn of events. Olivia raised an eyebrow to look at Ethan. "So, you're the cousin she mentioned who can ignore the law and keep her from trouble even if she beats me until I'm a scary." Ethan's expression turned stormy when he heard that. He withdrew his hand from Lydia's arms and said, "You wanted to hit her." Lydia had been too carefree in Ordchester. She shrugged and said, "That's right. She was being a bitch. Ethan slapped her in the face. The loud and crisp sound of the slap attracted everyone's attention. Even Olivia's eyes widened. Ethan was a very chivalrous man. He would never lay a hand on a woman. But he just slapped Lydia in front of so many people. Olivia slapped Lydia's right cheek, and Ethan slapped her left cheek. So, both her cheeks were swollen now. Ethan, you. Ethan glared at her icily and said, apologize to your cousin-in-law, now. Lydia was dumbstruck. The crowd felt satisfied as they witnessed the turn of events. Wah, what did you say? This pregnant woman is, Ethan said slowly, she's your cousin-in-law. And I'm the old man you said she was with. Chapter 517. Lydia was shocked. She didn't know that Ethan had married a woman like that. Her flight was late on the day of Ethan's wedding. She saw on the news that Ethan had eloped with another woman, but Olivia's picture wasn't provided. She thought it was too much of a coincidence. Her expression was one of fascination. She was still hung up on Olivia being her cousin-in-law. Ethan looked at the crowd and said, there's nothing to see here. The crowd quickly dispersed after he said that. They didn't even dare to take another peek. The door was closed. Ethan wanted to settle this family dispute in private. Lydia had been slapped twice, causing them to be red and swollen now. She still felt upset. Ethan, are you really married to this woman? What about Nikki? She has been waiting for you all along. She was already devastated when she heard you were marrying Marina. Nikki, that was another woman that Olivia hadn't heard of. But she was no longer interested in Ethan's colorful past. Ethan cut Lydia off coldly and said, I told you to apologize to Liv. Lydia had always been afraid of Ethan. But Ethan had always been good to his cousins, even though he was cold by nature. However, he had slapped her for this woman's sake. She was upset, but she didn't dare to anger Ethan anymore. She said, I'm sorry, Olivia. I didn't know who you were just now. I apologize. I accept your apology, and you don't have to think of me as your cousin-in-law. Tyler and I have been divorced for a long time. Olivia proceeded to ignore Lydia. She went to the side of the window. The auction was starting. Lydia's eyes lit up. Ethan, you two are divorced. It's no wonder you never announced her to the public. I knew a woman like her wasn't good enough for you. Nikki is the best woman for you. Shut up. One more word and I'll have you sent home. Don't do that, Ethan. I'm here to auction for something. I'll shut up. Please don't be angry. Ethan glared at her and said, stay put. Okay. The woman was so arrogant before, but now, she was like a docile little kitten before Ethan. Ethan went to sit next to Olivia. She turned her body to the side so that she wouldn't see him. Ethan was the one who began to feel uneasy. His relationship with Olivia was weird now. They used to be so close, but they had become something like frenemies. They had drifted apart like strangers. The opening ceremony started, breaking the awkward tension between them. The items were being auctioned off one by one. Every single item made the crowd go wild. Olivia wasn't interested in antiques, but she kept hearing Lydia's exclamations of surprise. Olivia started to feel drowsy as the auction went on. Ethan saw that she was tired, so he suggested, you should lie down for a while. I'll help you bid for the items you want. No need, Olivia said coldly. Lydia slammed her hand on the table and stood up. Why are you being so difficult? Ethan is talking to you so humbly. You should watch your attitude. Shut up, Ethan, this woman is too domineering. She's nothing compared to Nikki. You're already divorced. You don't need to stand up for her. We don't even know whose baby she's carrying. Before you came, I saw her flirting with the man from the next room. If she could do that in broad daylight, who knows what she'd do when no one's watching. Chapter 518. Olivia's heart skipped a beat. That was Ethan's only soft spot. She didn't forget how she managed to save the two kids back then. If Ethan ever lost control again, she didn't know what she would do. Ethan glared at Lydia and said, shut up. Lydia grunted, adding, if you don't take my advice, you'll surely be fooled by this woman. Lydia wasn't stupid. She didn't dare to agitate Ethan again. A new item was being auctioned. It was a rose diamond necklace. It was designed by a master jeweler named Nico and part of a rose series. The large screen displayed the shine and design details of the necklace from every angle. Even Olivia, who had been dozing off, opened her eyes. Ethan rarely saw Olivia interested in any sort of jewelry. He quickly asked, "Do you like it?" Olivia quickly placed a hand on his mouth and said, "Shut up and listen to its introduction." Ethan was at a loss for words. Lydia widened her eyes in shock. She couldn't believe how much Ethan loved his ex-wife. The auctioneer was talking about the necklace's origins. Nico had spent a lot of time and effort designing it. It was made as a gift for his sister on her 18th birthday. It was part of a series that included a necklace, a bracelet, and earrings. But the necklace was the only part of the series left. The bracelet and earrings were missing. They would be worth more if the set were complete. Olivia looked at the necklace repeatedly. She knew she wasn't mistaken. She had seen the earrings before. The design was unique, and the diamonds were huge. She wouldn't forget ever seeing them. She had seen them on the corpse in the boat she was hiding in when Leia kidnapped her. The earrings were on the corpse's ears. Even though it had been half a year since the incident and Olivia had almost forgotten about it, the image of the gruesome corpse flashed in her mind. Olivia started to gag. Covering her mouth, she went to the toilet. "Liv." Ethan quickly followed her. Olivia was only gagging. She didn't throw anything up. But she couldn't get the image of the corpse out of her mind. It was just a dead body that had nothing to do with her, but she felt uneasy. "What's wrong? Do you need a doctor?" Ethan asked with concern. "I'm fine. Do you know who Nico is?" Olivia asked Ethan. "That genius designer." "Yeah, I don't know him. Do you want to buy his designs?" "No, Olivia didn't know if she should tell Ethan, but the earrings on the corpse flashed in her mind again. "Help me look into him. I might know something." If that corpse was really Nico's sister, she felt like she needed to tell him. Maybe he was still searching high and low for his sister. Ethan thought it was weird, but he had someone look into it as per Olivia's demands. Olivia went back to her seat and saw Lydia bidding for the necklace. Many people were after the necklace, making the competition intense. Lydia looked toward Ethan helplessly. "Ethan, please help me out." Ethan ignored her completely. He patted Olivia on the back and poured hot water for her. Lydia was at a loss for words. She promptly went back to bidding for the necklace. The price had been driven up to $20 million. For a diamond necklace, that price was almost as high as it could get. But suddenly, the person in the room next door put in a bid for $50 million. Lydia complained, "Is that person stupid? Why would he raise the price by so much? Why would he raise the price by $30 million for a necklace?" Olivia knew that the man next door was Avery. She wondered if he had come back to Aldenvine to look for his sister. Would the necklace be related to his sister somehow? Ethan took a call and turned to tell Olivia, "Liv, I have information on Nico. He's Avery's brother, Troy Fordham." Olivia was drinking some warm water. When she heard what Ethan said, the glass fell to the floor. The next second, she had already gotten up and was running toward the door. Chapter 519. "Where are you going, Liv?" Ethan quickly chased after her. Lydia rolled her eyes and exclaimed, "Is this woman crazy?" Olivia ran to the room next door. "I want to see Mr. Fordham." Bryce knew who Olivia was, so he opened the door without resistance. Olivia quickly ran into the room. Avery was sitting on the couch with a calm expression. He heard the door open and saw Olivia coming. "It's been a long time, Olivia." Olivia jumped right into business. She asked, "Mr. Fordham, does that necklace belong to your sister?" "Yes, I came here because I heard that something that belonged to her was going to be auctioned. I wanted to see if it would help me find her. Even if it wouldn't, I didn't want her birthday gift to be in another person's hands." Olivia's suspicions had been confirmed. Her deduction was correct. The corpse was Avery's long-lost sister. Olivia looked at Avery's sickly face. She didn't know how to break such cruel news to him. "What's wrong, Olivia? Do you have anything you want to tell me?" "I've seen the owner of the rose diamond earrings before," Olivia said slowly. Avery's expression changed immediately. "When? Where? Liv, you're pregnant. You shouldn't be walking so fast." Ethan's cold voice interrupted their conversation. He put his arm around Olivia possessively and stared daggers at Avery. He misunderstood Olivia once because of this man. Seeing him reminded Ethan of his mistake. It was the first time Ethan came face to face with Avery. He reached out politely and said, "Nice to see you again, Mr. Miller. Our last meeting was too rushed, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you. What about we get dinner together, to thank you for helping my wife out? It'll be my treat." "You're too kind, Mr. Miller. I'm just in town for some personal matters." Avery could clearly feel Ethan's hostility against him. He didn't want to take it to heart. He turned to look at Olivia and said, "I need to talk about something private with Olivia. Do you mind?" Ethan tightened his hand around Olivia's waist, saying slowly, "I do mind." His refusal was direct. He didn't even try to be polite. "Liv is pregnant. I don't think she's going to be of much help. If you have any problems, I'll be happy to help." Ethan pretended to be close to Olivia. He didn't want to give anyone else a chance to get close to her. Olivia didn't want to put up with his games. She said, "Ethan, I have something important to talk to Mr. Avery about." "You?" Ethan's expression fell. "I'm curious. What do you have to talk to him about that I can't know of?" Olivia could sense the animosity seeping from Ethan. She sighed, not wanting to get into another fight with Ethan. "Okay, you can listen in, but don't butt in. What I'm about to say is important." Ethan was at a loss for words. Avery gestured for both of them to sit before ignoring Ethan's presence completely. "Olivia, please let me know where you saw my sister." Olivia took a deep breath and said, "Mr. Avery, what I'm about to say might not be good news. You need to brace yourself." "Okay, I'm ready. Half a year ago, I found a washed-up boat when I was escaping from my enemies. I dove into the water and found a dead body in the water. That body had these earrings on." Chapter 520. Avery's hands started to shake when Olivia mentioned a dead body. His complexion was already bad, but his face became deathly pale. "Could you be mistaken?" "I don't think so. The earrings were huge and very pretty. She was wearing designer clothes." "Oh, wore a really expensive-looking sapphire ring." Olivia saw that Avery's expression was worsening. She comforted him, saying, "Mr. Avery, maybe someone took your sister's jewelry. It might not be as bad as we think it is." Avery lowered his head to look at his phone. He didn't hear what Olivia said. Olivia saw that Avery's fingers were shaking. He was scrolling frantically on his phone before stopping at a picture. "Is this the ring you saw?" The ring in the picture was clearer. The sapphire was clear and exquisite. "This is the one. When I saw the body, it had already been in the water for some time. I couldn't tell what she used to look like. I felt terrible for her and wanted to inform the authorities when I got out of danger, but things happened, and I wasn't able to do that. I only remembered this after I saw the rose diamond necklace." "Where's the address?" Avery's voice was trembling. He wanted an answer desperately. "The abandoned industrial areas." Ethan looked straight at Olivia. He knew it had happened when Leia kidnapped her. He didn't realize she had gone through so much. He knew she must have been scared to be so close to a dead body. Olivia looked at Ethan and said, "I'm indebted to Mr. Avery. This is your city. Help him out." Ethan saw that there was nothing between Olivia and Avery, so he didn't act petty and jealous. He agreed, "All right, leave it to me. I'll get someone on it right away." The auction for the emerald pendants had just started. As soon as Olivia made a bid, everyone looked toward her room. The people present knew that Olivia was a powerful person due to the commotion that happened in front of her room just now. So, no one placed a bid after Olivia. She was able to get the pendants back relatively easily. She had seen these pendants when she was a kid. But she had no idea what they were for. She only started to grow sentimental about these items after she grew up. The pendants were important not just because they were expensive but also because they held a lot of memories. Olivia put the pendants away carefully. Ethan had also prepared the helicopter. He turned to look at Olivia and said, "You should go back and get some rest." Olivia wouldn't have cared about the body of a stranger. For some reason, when she thought about the dead body on the boat, she felt a different emotion. "I'll go take a look. The helicopter is fast, it won't take long." On the helicopter, Ethan asked, "Why didn't you tell me that you saw a dead body?" Olivia fell silent for a while before sneering, "Nothing would have changed even if I had told you. Would you have avenged me against your sister? Do you think this is all she has done to me? I didn't even tell you that she's the one who leaked my location to Mr. Carlton. She also tried to inject poison into me that night by impersonating a doctor. If she hadn't gotten news of you finding toxic hive's base, I would have been dead." Olivia said everything in a calm tone, but Ethan's expression changed drastically. "Liv, I'm sorry." Olivia looked at the hand she couldn't even feel and smiled. "You don't have to apologize. You made a choice. When you chose her, that was the end of us. Ethan, I have no choice but to live under your protection now. But I'm doing this for the babies. It's not what I want to do." Raising her head, she looked Ethan in the eye. Her expression was stern. "I hate Leia, but I hate you more. If I ever get the chance, I'll inflict the pain I felt back to you several times over."